It's Friday, August 14. This is the news on PBCJ. I'm Simone Absalom. Health Minister Dr. Christopher Tufton gave an update on the COVID-19 pandemic on Thursday.
Over the past 24 hours, we've had six new samples testing positive for COVID-19 in the last 24 hours. The total number of confirmed COVID-19 cases in Jamaica stands now at 1,071. The newly confirmed cases are 1 female and 5 males, with ages ranging from 10 to 61 years. The cases were recorded in Kingston and St. Andrew, 3, St. Thomas 2, and St. Catherine. 3 cases are contacts of confirmed cases, and 3 cases are under investigation. In terms of recoveries, 1 additional case has recovered and been released from care. Total recoveries are now at 754, or 70.7% recovery rate. 62, or 5.8% of the patients were repatriated to their countries of origin. Active cases, we now have 241. That's 22.5% active cases currently under observation. There are 6 moderately ill patients, and there is 1 critically ill patient at this particular point in time.
He was speaking at a virtual press conference at the ministry's New Kingston offices. $100,000 has been allocated to Jamaica through Canada's Enabling Gender Responsive Disaster Recovery, Climate and Environmental Resilience in the Caribbean project. The funds will be used to support immediate needs for some of the most vulnerable, including women and girls, the elderly, persons living with disabilities, and individuals who have lost their jobs due to COVID-19. United Nations Development Programme, UNDP, who will be administering the funding on behalf of Canada, will be partnering with the Government of Jamaica through the Bureau of Gender Affairs and the Climate Change Division, UN Women, and civil society groups to carry out this work. Minister of Health and Wellness Dr. Christopher Tufton gave an update on the recent quarantine measures in the Church Corner community in St. Thomas and Sand Bay, Clarendon. Melvin Pennant has that story.
This is what has represented a big part of the success of Jamaica's approach to COVID. And it is inconvenient to those who are affected, but frankly speaking, it's the most effective way. So we crave the patience and indulgence of those who are affected, and we say thanks to those who are involved in the process.
Dr. Tufton says Parish Health Department and its partners continue the work on the ground, providing medical surveillance, welfare, public education, and pharmaceutical services.
Summary of our efforts on Wednesday, August 12th, as it relates to the quarantine areas, are as follows. Health team members on the ground in Clarendon, in Sandy Bay and its environs, 45, in St. Thomas, 51. Home visited, 445, St. Thomas, 3, that's 445 for Clarendon, 339 for St. Thomas. Persons interviewed, 1,026 in Clarendon, 354 in St. Thomas. Persons reached by the health education officer, 626 in Clarendon, 200 in St. Thomas. Samples collected, 285 in Clarendon, 371 in St. Thomas. Positive cases, 2 additional, and 20 in the case of St. Thomas. 2 additional in Clarendon, 20 in St. Thomas. And prescriptions filled by the NHF, 54 in Clarendon and 189 in St. Thomas. It's interesting to look at these numbers because it tells a deeper story around the status of those communities in terms of what is available, the health profile, and so on.
He urged Jamaicans to take responsibility for their health and observe all the safety protocols, like wearing masks and sanitizing, especially for those who are under house quarantine.
COVID's still a keep. It's not completed. And so everyone has a role to play. Everyone counts. And it is very important, particularly now with over 26,000 Jamaicans being quarantined at home, having come into the country for the most part, that we observe the protocols, because otherwise we're going to see community outbreaks that we really don't want, or transmission.
Melvin Pennant, PBCJ News.
In the meantime, Health Ministry aims to clear the backlog of COVID-19 samples when a shipment of COVID-19 testing kits arrives in the island next week. Director of Services at the National Public Health Laboratory, Dr. Michelle Hamilton, said the lab was on track to clear the backlog. However, there was a shipment delay in the necessary reagents.
We have been assured, and documents have been forwarded to us to indicate that we are in fact getting a large shipment of kits next week for the COBAS 6800. And this is very good news indeed, because it means that we will have kits on hand to clear any samples remaining at the lab, as well as to deal with eventualities coming in from the field. So we did not get the kits we were expecting, but we are getting a large number of kits, a much larger number of kits, might I say, than we were originally expecting, just that it's occurring a little after the time that we had expected the kits to come in. So they are arriving. They should be here by latest Monday, and then we will be able to proceed.
Dr. Hamilton says one lab has shown promise, but she did not share the name. Rather, she urged private labs to come forward to conduct COVID-19 testing, especially for persons who want to travel. In the lead-up to the general elections announcement, Prime Minister Andrew Holness toured the town of Lucy in Hanover. As he did so, he urged persons to wear masks as the country continues to be affected by COVID-19.
Yeah. 2 marks for you. What a lovely little girl. Your daughter? Keep on safe. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Like say you wear your
Jamaican commuters are being urged to remain vigilant when taking public transportation. Chief Medical Officer, CMO, Dr. Jacqueline Bessessa-McKenzie made the call during a digital press brief held at the Health Ministry's office. Dr. Bessessa-McKenzie said of the persons who died from COVID-19 complications, a taxi operator was among them.
Persons who travel in a conveyance with someone who has COVID-19 has a 3.5 times more likelihood of getting COVID-19 than somebody that lives in the same house with them. Now, this is very important because we have to share this information. It's not that we want to share private issues, but, you know, one of our recent deaths was in fact a taxi operator. And these persons have to understand that the risk that they face, as well as the persons who are traveling in these vehicles, and to make sure that they adhere to the precautions that have been put out there, that they must not go into an overcrowded vehicle, and they must make sure that they have on their mask. They must make sure that they travel with the windows open. I travel on the road and I'm still seeing taxis traveling with their windows up. And I'm still be able to look into some of these vehicles and recognize that persons are not traveling with masks on.
Dr. Bessessa-McKenzie says a shopkeeper is also among those who have recently contracted the virus. She's urging the public to be vigilant.
A lot of persons can come into your business place. You don't know who they are. You don't know if they have been exposed. You don't know if they have symptoms, but you deal with these persons. And we're not saying to stop the business. What we're saying is the precautions that have been put out must be adhered to, and they are to be adhered to for a reason, to prevent yourself from becoming infected and for preventing the persons that come into your business place from becoming infected. Therefore, we have asked that there be some method of hand washing or hand sanitizing when you come into business places. Business owners must provide this. business owners should not allow persons to come into their business if they're not wearing a mask.
The Electoral Commission of Jamaica, ECJ, says current voter IDs with 2017 and 2019 expiry dates will be valid until December 31, 2020. The news comes just days after Prime Minister Andrew Holness announced the September 3 general election date. According to the ECJ, more than 30,000 people were added to the July 2020 voters list and are eligible to vote in future elections. The Commission also noted that a total of 14,029 names were removed from the list. Controversial Muslim cleric Sheikh El-Faisal was extradited from Jamaica to the United States on Thursday. He will now stand trial in the New York jurisdiction for terrorism-related charges. The 54-year-old, who was christened Trevor William Forrest, was arrested in Jamaica on August 25, 2017 on an extradition warrant from the United States. He fought his extradition for approximately 3 years until his hopes were ended by the Court of Appeal last month. Minister of Justice Delroy Chuck signed a surrender warrant to the United States for El-Faisal. Previously, he was deported from the United Kingdom to Jamaica in 2007. He would then go to Kenya, but would also be deported from that country. If found guilty, he could face a sentence between 7 years and life in prison. In today's extended edition of the Business Report, host Gabriel Thompson takes a closer look at the new Clarendon Alumina Production Limited, or CAP, agreement with the Noble Group.
A joint commercial agreement between the Clarendon Alumina Production Limited CAP and the Noble Group is set to lower Jamaica's national debt by approximately 1% of the gross domestic product (GDP) over a 3-year period. Finance Minister Dr. Nigel Clark gave a statement to Parliament on Tuesday outlining the repayment of CAP debt and entry into a marketing agreement. The commercial agreement is as follows.
1. CAP, through a loan from the GOJ, will repay debt obligations due to the Noble Group in the amount of approximately $136.7 million US, the Noble Group loan. The associated security package held by the Noble Group that secures the loan will be released on the repayment of the Noble Group loan. The security package consists of a debenture comprising a fixed and floating charge over CAP's interest in the Jamaica joint venture, a security assignment agreement, and mining rights granted by way of special mining lease 170. CAP and Noble Group will immediately terminate by way of mutual agreement the alumina sales agreement, which ordinarily terminates in 2025 and under which CAP sold its alumina forward to Noble in 2013, and replace it with a 3-year alumina marketing agreement in respect of CAP's alumina offtake from the Jamaica operation.
Under the 3-year marketing agreement, CAP is set to employ a shared alumina price with the Noble Group. In return, Noble will be paid a 2% commission by CAP on sale price obtained. The Finance Minister also outlined benefits of transactions between the two groups.
CAP debt to Noble is a part of Jamaica's national debt stock. The transactions result in a lowering of the national debt by approximately 1% of GDP. The CAP debt to Noble carries an interest rate of 8% per annum and matures in 2025. For financing of similar tenure, the government of Jamaica is now able to borrow at substantially lower rates. For a 5-year duration, we are borrowing at 4.5% or thereabouts. The third, Mr. Speaker, is that the transactions reduce the fiscal risk that CAP poses to the government by immediately improving CAP's cash flows.
In Thursday's trading session, the JSE Combined Index advanced by 2,341 points to close at under 400,000 units. Overall market activity resulted from trading in 78 stocks, of which 24 advanced, 42 declined, and 12 traded firm. The Junior Market Index declined by 49 points to close at under 3,000 units. Stocks advanced for 138 Student Living Jamaica, 1834 Investments Limited, and Berger Paints Jamaica. Stocks declined for Access Financial Services, AMG Packaging and Paper Company, and Barita Investments. Trading firm were Everything Fresh, First Rock Capital Holdings, and Fosrich Company Limited. Sagicor Select Funds Limited Manufacturing and Distribution was the volume leader with 16.6 million units, followed by Wigton Wind Farm Limited Ordinary Shares with 15.3 million units, and Pulse Investments Limited with 1.4 million units. Now for the foreign exchange. The US dollar on Thursday, August 13, ended trading at $150.36. The Canadian dollar sold for an average $114.41. The pound sterling traded for $195.13, and the euro ended trading at $178.87. Oil slipped further below $45 a barrel on Friday, giving up this week's gains under pressure from doubts about demand recovery due to the novel coronavirus pandemic and rising supply. Brent crude futures fell 37 cents to $44.59 a barrel. West Texas Intermediate crude futures slipped 41 cents to $41.83 a barrel. That's it for the Business Report on PBCJ. I'm Gabrielle Thompson.
Time now for the latest news from your favorite dancehall artists and personalities. We go to the entertainment recap with Alicia Steele.
On this week's entertainment recap, there are lots of ups and downs. Sheila Marley blames dad Rohan Marley for depression and mental issues. Billboard overlooks Beenie Man and Bounty Killer for Versus cover. Stolen cars and many more. I'm your host, Alicia, and welcome to Entertainment Recap. During her live Instagram discussion about depression, Sheila gave insights into what the relationship was like with her dad, Rohan Marley, and how it has affected her mentally. Sheila, who is the daughter of Lauryn Hill, also argues that her dad is not the worst and reveals that he has reached out to her and she does intend to go see him. But as to her mental issues, she says, in her current state of mind, therapy is not an option right now.
I have a form of split personality to some degree. I mean, not to diagnose myself, but just a form of split because it's like, I feel like a part of me stopped growing at the age that my dad left. So whenever that stopped, I feel like something just stopped, or maybe it never grew.
Billboard, do you really want to be that guy? During quarantine, the online versus battle created by Timbaland and Swiss Beats went through the roof when our very own dancehall artist Beenie Man and Bounty Killer went at it in a record-breaking clash. The success of the musical battle was evident. However, for some reason, the veteran DJs were absent from the cover, causing the Billboard magazine Versus feature all the more glaring. Dubbed the Versus Effect, the feature story calls the clash the cultural high point for Versus, but neglected to include the artist on its lead image, which include Babyface, Ted Riley, Timbaland and Swiss Beats, Jill Scott, John Legend, and Alicia Keys, among others. Versus continued by thanking Billboard and the writer for the featured articles, but added an alternate cover that replaced Beats and Timbaland with the King of Dancehall, Beenie Man, and the Poor People Governor, of course, Bounty Killer. Nevertheless, Bounty Killer and Beenie Man had this to say. So on the ear say a woman stole Popcorn sister car. Them too bad. Bring back our car. In a post to Instagram, the unruly boss, Popcorn, shared the black Nissan Juke was stolen by the female in this picture from a prominent guest house in Kingston 8 area around 5 a.m. He said, "Whoever know this girl, tell her just return the car. She too bad." No, sir. The entire incident was caught on surveillance camera and shows a woman dressed in all black walking towards the car, entering it and reversing it from the property. Afiar. Sadness really brings people together for true. Feuding dancehall female artists Shenseea and Jada Kingdom seems to be on each other's good side from the passing of Shensea's mother in June, where Jada Kingdom sent her condolence, and to the internet she said that she's done beefing. We like that. The two started following each other. You can see in an Instagram post where Shenseea supported Jada, and discussions of a collab, that not sound bad. Thanks for watching PBCJ's Entertainment Recap. I'm your girl, Alicia. Follow us on all socials at pbcjamaica. And guess what? Walk good. And always and forever, big up who? You!
In regional news, days after a man was shot dead by the police in the Bahamas, 400 body and dash cams will now be used by the Royal Bahamas Police Force. All officers on patrol are expected to wear a body cam while on duty. Kyle Walken has the details.
If you want to double press, he can record for the full 8 hours. The battery life on these body cams is 13 hours.
It's a new tool worth $688,000 and is expected to bring a new level of transparency to policing in the Bahamas.
Let's say he reached it's reported as a disturbance. When the officer reached on the scene, he come under rapid gunfire. Someone is engaging him. That footage should have already started.
200 body cams and 200 dash cams now in use by members of the Royal Bahamas Police Force throughout New Providence. Here's how it works. Once officers sign in for their 8 or 12-hour shift, they put on a body cam, which is on the entire time.
The officer, he cannot erase, he cannot do anything with it. When he's completed his call of duty, he switches the power button off, he takes his cam off. All he do is disconnect it. Disconnect it, give it to the station officer, he put it on a charging dock, and automatically everything that he recorded during the course of that shift, that uploads into the evidence.com, and it goes in the cloud.
Police Commissioner Paul Roll says as of today, if you're stopped by police, chances are the interaction is being recorded, providing real-time evidence. This has proven useful in incidents all over the world, like the police-involved killing of African-American George Floyd, whose death sparked public outrage. Now, as for how soon the public is able to see the dash or body cam footage once an incident occurs, Roll says that may be up to the courts.
The court will, once the trial comes up, that will be available. Of course, there are, depending on the nature of the footage, we may make that available sooner for the media, okay? Because we may wish to share with the media and also to seek to get assistance from members of the public. And in those cases, yes, we will make it available.
So we have a dash cam here. One is on this vehicle, one is on that vehicle. 4 officers outfitted with their body worn.
The implementation of these cameras come just days after police shot and killed a man whom Roll says attempted to open fire on his mother and a responding officer. According to the top cop, officers cannot stop the recording, nor can they attempt to alter the footage recorded. If so, there is a price to pay.
The officer cannot turn it off, stop it from capturing. He cannot turn the audio up. He cannot turn the audio down. Me as the system administrator, I can go in and watch the video, but I cannot make no alteration to it.
We have the policy that they have to line, which outline, and there are consequences. Okay, there will be consequences if they do not follow those policies.
Roll says there are plans to bring on an additional 100 body cams in the very near future. For Our News, I'm Kyle Joaquin.
Community mediation is now available in Barbados, and officials are optimistic that the introduction of the Alternative Dispute Resolution Service should help minimize the number of cases going before the courts. More from Barbados today.
The service is being offered under the Canadian-funded Improve Access to Justice in the Caribbean. At the official launch this week, Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Youth, Sports and Community Empowerment, Yolan Howard, said there has been a noticeable increase in tension in society in recent times, and she believes mediation will play a critical role in helping to solve those frictions.
It is extremely necessary that we have the community mediators on board to assist in dealing with these tensions, helping these people, especially the young ones, helping them to be able to deal with some of these tensions. Some of the tensions are based on some factors that I will not share today, but it is very evident that we need to be able to help them to understand the importance of life, the importance of community, and to understand that what they're doing is not just hurting themselves, but it is also hurting their families, and it is hurting their communities and the country on a whole.
Deputy Commissioner of Police Erwin Boyce described the Community Mediation Service as another step towards helping members of the community to function effectively. He noted concern about the high number of domestic disputes, saying that the majority of the more than 50,000 annual calls to the Royal Barbados Police Force were domestic matters. He stressed the need for a more efficient way to handle those complaints.
The force has broadened responses in how to deal effectively and efficiently with domestic related matters, intimate partner violence, and what I refer to as some troublesome neighborhoods and situations or events. Our family conflict unit, which was set up as being of flagship in providing strong and able responses to situations as it relates to domestic violence and intimate partner violence, and in this particular area that mediation, counseling remains paramount.
Commissioner Boyce also pledged that every effort will be made to retrain and retool police officers to handle disputes, as he admitted there are some challenges within the force.
We are working to partner with this project without question. Since we recognize that many of our responses, mediation is the key. And I can quote a number because my portfolio also relates to sloppy service from the police. And, we are not a perfect organization, although we are 150 years old. And our organization is as strong as its weakest link. And some of our links might need retraining and retooling. So sometimes we do get complaints of some inept service. And judging from the ineptness of the service and from the investigation, from a disciplinary perspective, we recognize that some of our officers are not as trained as we thought they were in terms of communication, in terms of delivery of police services. And we even went as far as to make a determination that sometimes we need to reshape the authority of the police officer.
In sports, we're out of blocks with athletics. President of the Jamaica Athletics Administrative Association since 2011, Warren Blake, won't be seeking re-election. Blake says the decision to end his tenure as president was based on his belief on term limits. Blake has pointed to General Secretary Gayle, saying he plans to run for the soon-to-be vacant presidency. Blake describes Gary as very knowledgeable in the track and field and says he would make an excellent president. In other sporting news, uncertainty looms over the start of the Inter-Secondary School Sports Association's programs. The sports local body is hoping for October start, but ISSA President Keith Wellington says the recent spike in COVID-19 cases could result in further delays. With schools usually starting in September, the popular sporting programs would get off the ground almost immediately, but not so this year. The ISSA boss says there's not likely to be a merger of girls and boys sports anytime soon. Suggestions have been made that this could be one way to truncate the seasons of the various sporting events, but Wellington says this would prove difficult at this time. And that's the news on behalf of our hard-working production team here at the PBCJ. Pleasant viewing.